It took me 2 whole years to reach 2200 rapid on chess.com. But for me, I could never get my Blitz rating up to the same standard. If I thought about my moves too much, I would end up being flagged. If I tried to speed up, I'll make amateurish blunders that I would otherwise never make. It seems very difficult to progress when you're at a point like this. You know for a fact that your playing level is very strong because you can play so well in rapid. So, where does the improvement come from? Well, I was in the exact same boat. In June of 2025, I was as low as 1900 ELO, but just a month later, I was 2200 Blitz. The best thing about this is I didn't have to practice or study anything new. I just had to put together pieces of the puzzle that I already had. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to do the exact same thing. And at the end of the video, I'll show you the game that I played to reach 2200 ELO. Before we do get started though, if you guys want to support my channel and keep me uploading videos like these, feel free to check out my coaching options on my new website. We've just revamped how things look, including some testimonials from long-term students you guys can see as well. The best part is any new student will receive 25% off their first lesson. So if you're needing a coach and want to support my channel, feel free to book a lesson. Without further ado, let me explain exactly what I did to reach 2200 ELO in the Blitz time control. I think with anything like this, it's super important to establish the circumstances that I was in June of 2025. As a lot of you would know from watching this channel for any amount of time, I've made a lot of changes to my repertoire to strengthen my over-the-board play. With the white pieces, I've started playing the Catalan, mainline Grunfeld, mainline King's Indian, advanced French, advanced Caro-Kann, and so many other different responses to black. With the black pieces, I haven't changed too much, but I've started playing the symmetrical English, the Austrian Queen's Gambit declined, and playing into the mainline Reti. A big issue that I faced when trying to implement these openings into my Blitz games is that I just didn't understand the middle game plans well enough. I was just too slow and majority of my games were being lost by timeout. The problem with this though is that if I tried to speed up in these openings to avoid being flagged, then I would make the amateurish blunder and lose the game that way instead. So if you're in my position, you have one of two options. Firstly, because I was only playing my new repertoire in over-the-board play, I didn't have a big sample of games I actually had with my new opening. Because over-the-board games are few and far between. Although I'm getting better at those openings in classical play, I'm not really improving at understanding the positions in faster time controls. A good fix for this would just be to play rapid with your new opening repertoire. However, this is something that can take months to learn to a level where you can incorporate it into your Blitz games. So you might want to pick the alternative option. If you are looking to build an opening repertoire from scratch, although I won't explain it in this video, I do have a video up on my channel that goes through everything you need to know. Essentially, I use chessmind.ai, which also happens to be the sponsor of today's video. If you're not keen on making a custom repertoire from scratch, Chessmind has a variety of 50+ detailed courses crafted by Chilean Grandmaster Maurizio Flores that you can add to your repertoire. However, if you're feeling more creative, and this is what I recommend, you can also create a custom course on the website by inserting a Lichess study link. From there, you can practice all the moves in your own repertoire like you would on any course. Chessmind is such ridiculously good value for money as well. It's just $5 per month to access every single feature on the website, and if you use the link in the description, you can also get 30% off. I'll leave a link to their Discord in the description below as well, because the founder of the website is completely hands-on, and if you want a feature on the website, you can request it, and there's a good likelihood that it'll happen. If you want to find out more about chessmind.ai, feel free to look at any of the links in the description. I've made a couple videos on my channel on the website as well. But enough of that, let's get back into the video and what I did as a short-term solution. My alternative was just to revert back to my old openings, specifically in the Blitz time control. Eventually, I am going to have to sharpen up my repertoire, but that'll come with time and is more of a long-term goal for me. You can see the results for yourself. If we go to my opening tree, type in my chess.com name, set the color to white, and the time control to rated Blitz, we can see what my win percentages are depending on what opening I play. After d4 and d5 with white, we can see that my win rate is much higher when I play the London system, as opposed to the Queen's Gambit. Excluding draws, I have a 58% win rate with the London, and a 51% win rate with the Queen's Gambit. 51% by no means is not a bad win rate. but it's not a win rate that's going to launch my ELO forwards by any means. I'm fortunate enough to have an opening that I can fall back to in my shorter time controls. But if you don't have an opening like this, let me show you how you can fix your problem without switching openings or doing a lot of studying. Take any opening for example. In this case, I'm going to pick the Italian game because it's not an opening I've ever studied, and I want to prove that there is one super important thing that you need to learn about an opening to be able to play it fast. So let's put e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop c4 on the board. Generally, when we play an opening in a fast time control, we have a type of systematic setup we like to go for. In some openings like the London, this is much more apparent, but in openings such as the Italian, the move order is also important. Regardless, your pieces generally end up on the same squares. So let's put some more moves on the board and get to a deeper position. Knight f6, d3, bishop e7, castles, castles, knight c3, and d6. This is the problem I see a lot of people have in short time controls. When they get to a certain point in their opening, they just don't know what to play. A lot of people in a position like this might play something like bishop e3 because it feels like it's improving the position. However, the move knight a5 actually makes bishop e3 a slightly subpar move, as the light square bishop will be traded off. I'm going to explain how you can make a quick plan specifically for blitz games for this opening, and hopefully you can apply the same ideology to your other openings as well. Essentially, we want a plan that works for every variation of the Italian. Back on move 4, black could have played bishop c5 instead of bishop e7. We don't want to make individualized plans for each of these moves. We want something that works for everything so we don't have to think about the plan. Something important to note is that in blitz games below 2200 ELO, the opening evaluation means very little. Of course, a +1 advantage is still great, but these +0.3 advantages mean absolutely nothing. We're going to start formulating this plan by looking at potential pawn breaks in the position. Sometimes these pawn breaks may have already occurred. In that case, we work around those pawn breaks. However, in a position like this, there has not been a pawn break. Let's start by identifying the possible pawn breaks in this position. The first pawn break I can find is the move d4. The main consideration we make here is, have any of our pieces improved because of this pawn break? The answer to this question is not really. Maybe we can argue our queen is opening up, and our light square bishop has the d3 square to retreat to, but generally this move does not look amazing. The second pawn break in this position is f4. However, it cannot be played yet because the knight is in the way. If we played f4, we're primarily opening up our castled rook. Bringing a strong piece into the game like this so early, especially when black might not have the opportunity to do the same, makes the f4 pawn break much stronger than the d4 pawn break. Even though according to the engine, knight e1 is an inaccuracy, let's try it and see where it leads us. After knight a5, bishop b3, knight takes b3, a takes b3, and h6, let's strike for that f4 pawn break. After e takes f4 and bishop takes f4, you can see that our middle game plans have become extremely simple. Even though the engine is still evaluating this position as equal, I know 100% of people watching right now would prefer white's position over black's. We've actually played good moves here for black as well. I haven't purposely made black blunder or make inaccuracies. These are just moves that the engine likes. The problem with following book theory in a blitz game is the positions may be unintuitive for such a sharp time control. With blitz, we want opening plans that are easy to execute over and over again. Just to prove this, I'm going to jump into a blitz game from this position and show you how I might continue my plan, and how getting into a position like this allows you to play so much more freely than if you were following perfect theory. Okay, so we're starting this game against someone that is 1600 FIDE, and I'm going to be walking through what my plan is with this position and how intuitive I think it is. So it's black to move, and they play the move bishop g4, which is a good move. I'm just going to play knight f3, developing my knight whilst blocking the attack on my queen. I plan to play h3 at some point. I also plan to get this knight into the game. Something that I really like doing in these kind of positions is making some kind of imbalance in the game. There is an imbalance on the board, the light square bishop for the knight, and when we have these kind of imbalances, we want to prove that this piece is better than this piece. So we're going to try and trade off this, or see if it wants to trade off. If they want to trade off, we're going to be very happy activating our queen, but if they want to retreat back to this square, I think my knight is going to eventually become better than their bishop. I think in a lot of these positions, when you've pushed the f-pawn forward, a good move is always queen e1, activating your queen, allowing it to see more squares, and now they're trying to open up the position. I'm thinking about playing something like e5. E5, there's knight h5, I'm not 100% sure on that. We can't play queen g3 because of knight h5. If we take, I don't really like taking. I want to lock up the position here. If they play knight h5, I'm happy to either drop my bishop back to here or here. I think that bishop d2 is a little bit more active, so I might want to go with that. Okay, they've dropped it back like this, which makes me want to reinforce the center here with d4. I could also now go for queen g3. Queen g3, there might be g5. I like queen g3. Queen g3, the threat is obvious. We're going for bishop takes h6, immediately attacking on the side of the board that we've opened up for our rook. And you can see the disadvantage here for black is that their rook is not opened up. And this is a decent player as well, somebody that has challenged me over the board. So this is by no means a player that is much worse than me. But yeah, we're going to continue going for these ideas, see what they come up with. They go for king h7, which is an interesting way to deal with it. Knight h4 does not work, sadly. Maybe even just a h4. Continuing the idea. I don't really mind d4 now because my knight can jump in. So I'm just going to go for h4, kind of trying to prevent this g5 move, and maybe we end up going for h5 as well to stop g5 again, so we can en passant, and then we can land a knight on the h4 square as well. That's my idea, at least. A knight on h4, I'm not actually entirely sure if that does anything amazing. They're going for bishop g4 now, stopping this move, also threatening to take our knight. I could just bring in another rook. I think this position doesn't call for a complicated answer. I could also play something like d4. I really do like just bringing in the final piece of the puzzle, bringing in another rook, and kind of putting the ball back into black's court. We should speed up as well. I'm spending quite a bit of time trying to explain all of my moves. But I think this position is looking pretty good. We've got a decent plan. This is all intuitive. I haven't really come up with many crazy moves. I think all of these moves are just pretty good. And, you know, black doesn't have the most intuitive moves. Because this rook is not open, black doesn't have super intuitive moves. Maybe this move, f5, is more intuitive, but I'm not convinced. D4, we've got to look at this. D4, if they take and we take, immediately they have to get their bishop out of danger. This is a... okay. Let me think. Here, takes. Let's say they get their bishop out of danger like this. Then I can take the pawn. And you can't take back because I'm going to take here. So I think this is a nice tactic to find. Maybe they can... No, they can't take like this. Okay. And now... this pawn is going to be under attack. Maybe there's d4. I don't really buy it. I think I'm just going to take with my b pawn. And I think now he's seeing the problem with this line. Okay, now I can't take this. This is a much better move. I kind of want to open up space for my rook. Open up my rook. Maybe there's even... oh, there is a check, but then he can block. I would like my knight to get to there, but I don't see a way to do it without this bishop taking me. Not easy. I think I'm going to drop back. We're going to have opposite colored bishops. If they let me get to the d4 square, I'll be very happy with that. If they don't, it's not the end of the world. We play on. Okay, they're trying to trade queens, kind of forcing my hand here, but I do like my dark square pawn structure versus the light squared bishop. This does feel very good. The knight's going to be on a very, very dominant square. This knight is dominated too. I think just defending this pawn is a good quick move that we can make. They're going to try and jump in for this. Let's just continue. If they jump in, we're going to take. And now reroute the bishop. I would like to get my king active as well. Just trying to make fast moves here. We've gotten to a position that probably is just drawn. I mean, especially with the opposite colored bishops. But I really do like how this game went. It wasn't a game at all that I was ever worried about losing. Or being in a slightly worse position. I think this whole game was me fighting for a win. It didn't end up happening. I might win on time still. I mean, there's still lots of opportunities to get some flags here. And I think we might actually be able to do that. This is not the best looking position for black. And there we go. We get a win. And that is the game. I'm sure I played this very inaccurately. We can quickly go through. I'm not gonna lie, the game review that I did straight away after that game was probably one of the worst game reviews I ever did, and I skipped over a lot of things that I wanted to mention. So I'm just gonna do it again here. And we can start from the beginning move. This is the starting position, and we have bishop g4. Now, knight f3 was kind of a little bit cheaty because I did see this when I first analyzed the position. So I knew that knight f3 was going to be the best move. But from here on out, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I'm just kind of free bowling everything. After queen d7, I kind of know generally in a lot of these kind of positions, specifically you get a lot of these in the Benoni, you kind of want to play h6 and get this bishop to trade off for the knight. There are a lot of openings like this, so in this case I was completely happy to play h3, and I was right in doing so. It is the best move. Now they can either take, which gives white a plus 0.6 advantage. You guys can't see the evaluation bar, but after queen takes, generally speaking, you've just got a lot of firepower over this side of the board, and their dark squared bishop isn't going to be better than ours. That's kind of the main thing about this position. The dark squared bishop is going to be stronger for white. So black doesn't really want to trade off that bishop. They go back to e6, and now my plan is, okay, I'm going to prove that this knight's better than this bishop long term, which is what I was trying to do throughout the game. Now, I know that queen e1 is a very thematic move in these kind of positions. When the f-file is open, that goes for the Grand Prix attack, that goes for the Vienna game as well. There's probably a couple of others. You guys will know best. But I know that queen e1 is a very, very principled move here, just trying to get your queen onto this side of the board and get some lanes open, so you can see two big diagonals here for the queen. And that's what we try to do. d5, there are a lot of moves in this position for white. There is bishop e3 that you can play, there is knight e5 that you can play, there is king h1, a prophylaxis to stop any checks, you can even play queen f2 if you want, you can play so many different things. I go for e5. I thought it was kind of a little bit of an annoying move. I didn't think that knight h5 was so good. Apparently the engine thinks it's really the only decent move. Knight h5, and after knight h5 and bishop h5, it's going to go for this f5 move, which I did miss in the game. But if I missed it, that means your opponents at 1600 will probably miss that as well. They're probably not going to go for that entire plan. After knight e8, which wasn't a great move, it was the third top engine move. It's only plus 0.5 here. It's not completely terrible, but we go for queen g3, which is a decent move, and we're going for this idea over on the king. And by the way, I hope it's very obvious that the moves that I'm playing so far are not anything out of this world. These are very, very simple moves that I genuinely believe anyone watching this video can find, and that's kind of the whole point of this thought process and this methodology, is that we don't want to get into these complicated games where we need to be extremely good chess players to find all the best moves. We want to get into these intuitive middle games where, you know, anyone watching this video can find the moves that will go on to win the game. And I think that should be very obvious here, that the moves that I'm playing are not incredibly difficult to find. King h7 is the best move. This evaluation is plus 0.5, so it's still very even. And now I go for h4. This was probably an oversight. I don't know. I think I was kind of just out of ideas, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I would much rather have played h4 in 15 seconds like I did than find bishop d2, which is the top engine move. If I spent 30 seconds, an extra 15 seconds finding bishop d2, I would have rathered h4. I would have rather saved the 15 seconds, which ended up winning me the game because I did win on time. I would rather play a slightly subpar move, which is h4, that just is zeros. The evaluation is 0 here. So but just because I made a small inaccuracy doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. This is Blitz, this is not rapid, this is not classical. We can afford to make these small errors here and there because we know that our opponent's going to do the same thing. They played bishop g4. This is a mistake because of knight d5, a tactic that I did see earlier. If they do take, we're going to take and wrap around and defend the knight. If they take like this, we're going to take the bishop, and we're going to be up a pawn in this position. Something I did miss, but again, I would much rather have spent, how much time did I spend? Around 10-15 seconds on rook e1. I would much rather spend 15 seconds on rook e1, which by the way is still zeros on evaluation, than find a small advantage, because all of this time is going to add up. It absolutely does not matter if you're up a pawn if you have no time left on your clock. So I would much prefer a move like Rook E1 in a short amount of time than winning a pawn in a long amount of time, because if we put both of those moves together, we would have 1 minute on our clock right now and our opponent would have almost 2. And it would be very, very difficult to win that game. A minute is a massive difference. And if you're only up a pawn, you're going to have to take some risks to end the game early to get a checkmating attack, which is going to result in you flagging more often than not. And I think Rook E1 is not a bad move anyway. So Bishop C5, I end up seeing this tactic with Knight takes D5 at the end. They do take, and I take their bishop, but then they bring their bishop back to H5, which is a very good move. This position is plus 0.7, by the way, so even though we did make a couple of inaccuracies, we do have the lead again on evaluation. I do follow it up with a bad move though. Knight E2 does blunder most of the advantage back because of the move C6. My opponent plays Queen G4 though, and I thought that this would be a decent endgame to kind of go on with. You don't have to trade queens here, of course. Queen takes G4 is a move, but you can probably also play something like Queen D3, Bishop G6, and try to get out of the way like this, go around and try to harass pawns on this side of the board. This was kind of just, I was looking at the clocks, I saw, okay, 31 seconds to 39 seconds, I can probably win this time scramble, and that's kind of exactly what I did. I don't think that there is much point in analyzing the rest of the game. This was a very, very drawn position with not a lot of winning chances for either side. I kind of knew that I was never going to be under any kind of pressure from this bishop because all of my pawns were on the wrong square for it to attack any of them. I ended up anchoring in my position, putting the bishop on the d4 square, doubling up the rooks, and just kind of using my time to my advantage, using my still dominant position. Even though this position doesn't look like there's much in it, still we are creating threats constantly, and our moves are just easier to make because we have this open f file. If black just if we play rook f1 and black just kind of stumbles around here, we're going to play g4. If they keep going like this, we're going to play king g3. We've got obvious improvements to make. And even though it looks like there's nothing that we can do, unless they do just go back and forth, they also risk pre-move tricks. So you can trick your opponent by doing some kind of pre-move. We can play, maybe we can get away with something like rook f2 here and pushing for g5 now. If they take, we take, and maybe there are some chances in the end game here when both players are low on time. But we do go on and end up winning this game. And I think what I generally want to get out of this game is that this was a very strong player. He's 1600 rated over the board in FIDE rated play. And I think he's something like 2000 rapid as well. It should be more than possible for anyone to play like I did in this game. This will win you games at the 2200 level. This will win you games at the 2100 level. This will win you games at the 2000 level. It's not rocket science. Not every 2200 rated Blitz player is great at chess. We're all very bad. And I think the best way to kind of prove that to you is by jumping straight into the game that I actually played to reach 2200 Blitz. So I'm going to play that video now and you guys will see exactly what I mean. Okay, I've got a really good feeling about this game. I only need 8 ELO. I'm not playing this game. Just give me +8, please. +8. Oh my god. I don't want to abort 3 in a row. Okay, there we go. +8. Okay. I've been in this position like 20 times, and I've lost every game. Lots in winning positions, too. Okay, we get just a basic London. I've swapped to the London, trying to get to 2200, because the Queen's Gambit was just kind of being annoying. We've got this trick. This e4 trick where they can't take. They can take like this. Now there's another pin. We're gonna get a really weird setup here. And this is already a grind, but I've got the 3-on-2. I always like to go for these like little kind of micro wins in these kind of positions. Let's just make space. Just playing quickly. There's no reason I shouldn't be playing this. Just b3 and c4. Okay.
King F1 is slightly improving. There's also G4, which just looks like an annoying move. Let's play G4. Okay. G4 looks good. I almost like Queen E3, but it's probably just bad. Let's play Rook D1, which just looks the most logical. And now let's play King G2. I don't want to give up the light square diagonal. Okay, now Queen D3, and we'll block the check with F3. I'm down like 30 seconds. I need to be faster. Bring the king up, maybe H4. A queen trade would go down a treat right now. I can tell you that much. Just to get this 3-on-2 rolling. He's just gonna sit here patrolling with his queen forever. Okay, let's unpin. Okay. I don't like opening up the queen to get to like this kind of square. All right, let's take. Let's not allow him on the second rank. He can go to the first. Oh, I really like this, to be honest. Oh, no, I don't. I kind of do, actually. Okay, Rook C2, there's A4. And then Rook C3, Rook B7. And I can go Rook B5 and pick up that pawn. I've just got the passer. It might be a draw. That's how I get 2200? Ugh. I don't even feel good about it. I've played so many phenomenal games in the last like 100 when I've been like within 20 ELO of 2200, and that's how I win. I've played so many insane games. I want to cry. I actually want to cry. This whole idea revolving around playing openings in an imperfect way to create intuitive plans also applies to the middle game as well. Of course, in no circumstance do we want to just trade off every single piece on the board, but we also want to stop being such perfectionists in the way that we play. It's quite common, especially for people that play mostly rapid, for them to want to play the perfect move in every position. In Blitz, we need to unlearn this habit and just play a good move. A good quote that I like to remind people of is that great chess players play good moves 100% of the time. Keyword there, good moves. We don't need to find the best way to convert our advantage or the best way to continue an attack. As long as in general we just play good and we have a good way of executing our good plan, we're going to do very well. I think this happens the most when people are attacking. They sense that they have a big attack and they want to find that knockout blow. This is a habit that we really need to unlearn. We need to prioritize intuitive continuations of our games rather than insisting on finding the knockout punch. I hope you all enjoyed today's video and walk away with a better idea on how to fix your Blitz rating. I know for a fact that a lot of people struggle with the same thing, so I hope my experience gives you a little bit of the help that you might need. I also reached 2200 bullet at a similar time that I did to Blitz, so if you want to see me make a video for the same thing but the bullet time control, let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I hope you all enjoyed today's video and I'll see you in the next one.